Tens of thousands of Americans are protesting President-elect Donald Trump's second inauguration today, 2 days before he returns to office. This protest in Washington is expected to draw up to 50,000 people and is just one of several scheduled across the country. The People's March is a continuation of the resistance movement that gained momentum during Trump's first term as president and voices of opposition to his policies. And as Trump gets ready to take the oath of office, he has chosen an unprecedented number of billionaires to help him govern. Now, they include tech entrepreneurs that you're familiar with, like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, as well as a list of ultra-wealthy business tycoons. Altogether, the billionaires tapped for the Trump administration are worth at least $383 billion US. That is higher than the GDP of 172 countries combined. Now, it has even prompted outgoing President Joe Biden to weigh in.
Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead.
Now, for more on this, we're joined by Quinn Slobodian. Forgive me for that, Quinn. He's a professor of international history at Boston University and the author of Crack Up Capitalism, Market Radicals, and the Dream of a World Without Democracy. Quinn, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
Quinn, can we begin with this idea of billionaires being part of the administration? Is that at all unusual compared to other former administrations?
It is. I mean, if you hold aside Trump's own first administration, but even there's a kind of step shift where you have double the number of billionaires now tapped to be entering the cabinet as before. But if you compare it to Biden's, for example, I mean, the net worth of Trump's incoming cabinet is some 60 times more than Biden's. So the direct activism and role in governing of the ultra wealthy is itself a bit unusual. Usually they influence politics by other means.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit, beginning with what your understanding of why Trump wants these billionaires in his administration.
Well, I mean, I think any conversation like this should, of course, begin by pointing out that America is a highly unequal society, right? The top 0.1% in the U.S. owns 13.5% total wealth, whereas the bottom half of the population only holds 2.5% of the wealth. And this is a tendency that's happened through Democratic administrations and Republican administrations decade after decade. In the process, there are just more and more billionaires. So there were only 250 billionaires only in 2000, the year 2000. Now there's over 750. So they have, in the process, been, enriched by various administrations, regardless of political stripe, and they've mostly been happy to kind of influence things from the sidelines. I think that the decision of Trump to take on the ultra wealthy as active members of his cabinet shows a kind of boldness, and you could even say a kind of shamelessness, and a sense that the public won't see this as an affront to democracy, right? That the idea of a small number of ultra-wealthy people also writing the laws is not something that offends the sensibilities of, over half of the voting public, which is a notable kind of shift in popular sentiment, you could say.
And so break that down for us, because I'm sure the counter-argument from some will be, these are highly successful people. They know what they're doing in their various fields. Maybe they can bring that same level of success and expertise to the governing in an instant where many people feel the system just isn't working as it stands, so maybe it needs to be revamped. What's the problem with having a bunch of billionaires there?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that's worth pointing to is how this particular set of billionaires looks a bit different from the ones that have influenced politics in the past. So Biden mentioned in his remarks that you exerted at the top, growing tech industrial complex, right? And he was echoing openly Eisenhower's own farewell address from 1961 when he warned of a military industrial complex. One thing that neither of them mention is what you could call a financial industrial complex, which has been much more directly involved in governing over the years. So from Bill Clinton through Obama and Bush, it's been traditional for someone from Wall Street usually Goldman Sachs, to come in and run the Treasury Department, to take part in running economic policy. What's unusual about the present moment is you have more and more people from Silicon Valley entering the fray directly now, rather than opposing Washington as they had in the past. They're coming right in and taking up positions as David Sachs is, as AI and cryptos are, obviously Musk and Ramaswamy in this newly created Department of Government Efficiency. And there are certainly people who see things, as you suggest, that people who have made a lot of money must know how to run large institutions and enterprises. Therefore, why not let them run the government? But only a second look at the way that corporate capitalism has operated in the last few decades in America makes clear very quickly that the way that people have gotten rich as CEOs, as tycoons in the US, has been by squeezing productivity out of their workers without giving the workers back any of the gains of profits. So wages in the United States have been stagnant since the 1970s, even as that number of billionaires has ballooned. So the profit share has gone to management and gone to ownership rather than workers. And I would imagine if someone put those same people in power, you might expect similar results, policies that primarily continue to enrich this small sector of society while squeezing and making life harder and more precarious for the majority of people. And I think that's what we're going to get in the next 4 years.
So play that out for me. In the next 4 years, based on your own research, what are you anticipating in terms of legislation, particularly for those who are the most vulnerable economically speaking?
Well, I mean, I think it's worth asking first what the people from Silicon Valley in particular are up to, what they are doing, why they're taking time out of their busy lives to volunteer their labor, in some cases doing these advisory roles for Trump, what it is they were so worried about with the Biden and Harris administrations, considering, as I just said, the wealthy got wealthier through those 4 years as well. I think there were some moves towards breaking up big tech, antitrust, that were brewing, and in some cases moving forward under Biden, which were very concerning to Silicon Valley. So the concentration of power in firms like Apple and Google will now continue unabated. The regulation of things like AI and crypto that are obviously very disruptive in people's lives, both with boom and bust cycles and de-skilling and, making obsolete certain kinds of low-level and even white-collar jobs. That was going to be regulated more. Now the regulations are going to go away. The tax cuts, which Trump put into place in 2017, were set to expire this year, which would have meant a rethinking of the kind of social contract that could make a more redistributive social state, building up things like daycare services, public education that is chronically underfunded. That all is now going to go back in the direction of austerity and kind of, benefiting the wealthy and impoverishing the poor. And if the policies that have been discussed are actually carried out, abolishing the Department of Education, abolishing the Department of Energy, then those things are going to lead to, obviously, more pollution, accelerated climate change, less funding for emergencies like we're seeing in Los Angeles, and the elimination of funding for special education, underfunded public schools. So the further shredding of the safety net, which is already obviously in extremely grim shape in this country.
Quinn Slobodian, thank you very much for your time today.
Happy to be here.